Hello, BIMA 2023. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Audrey St. Onge, Lallemand Baking. Oftentimes I get asked what attracts me to the baking industry. I tell everyone it's about the people, the collaborativeness, and our solution-oriented mindset. Enjoy the session today.
Hello, Brad Clarkin with Quick Trip out of Wisconsin. We're a C-store operator. We operate about 850 stores throughout the Midwest. First time at BIMA, absolutely grateful to be here. And as far as one thing I love about the baking industry, I would have to say it's the people. It's the people that I get to work with each and every day, as well as the vendors that we've respectively partnered with over the years.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard Ybarra. I am the Senior Engineer and Manager with Public Supermarkets, responsible for the manufacturing operations that supports our retail business units. This is my 6th time to a BIMA event, and I tell you what, it's been great every time. My biggest takeaway from these events are the opportunity to build personal relationships and business relationships with other suppliers that are out there, doing work in the same industry and the same baking business as we have, and the opportunity to speak with other bakers that are experiencing the same challenges that we are in this vertically built support system that we put in place for our retail business units. But anyway, look forward to speaking with everybody, and y'all have a great day. Thank you now.
Hi, my name is Ron Scott, Managing Director for Bakery and Snacks Manufacturing with HEB. This is my 2nd BIMA convention. One thing I like about the industry is its ability to evolve. We've evolved with workforce, we've evolved in emerging trends to satisfy our customer needs, and we've evolved in the way we embrace technology to service our customers.
Thank you for joining us here today, and a round of applause for also the BIF committee on the RealWare. Really am a fan of this. Okay, so we're here today to talk about the ups and downs of the vertical integration. So I thought it would be the easiest place to start is define what vertical integration means in each of your organizations. So maybe Richard, we'll start with you.
Yes, vertical integration for Public Supermarkets certainly we didn't invent it ourselves. Myself, I was not involved in that. That was a vision of George Jenkins many years ago when he created Public Supermarkets to be able to bring fresh products and various products to the customer, and be able to do that through his stores. So there's a lot to go along with that, and it's been a very successful model for Public Supermarkets.
Ron.
Hey, vertical integration for us means to be able to support the customers and support the business by providing manufactured goods and services for our industry. We have 13 manufacturing plants in our system, 3 of which are commercial bakeries, and that's kind of our advantage of being able to be there first with innovation and items that are new and some traditional things that our customers like.
Okay. And Brad, you're different.
Absolutely. So I'm a little different on that end of it. Quick Trip, we operate 850 C-stores based out of Wisconsin. We started in 1965 with 1 store and have evolved into what we are today. From a vertical integration standpoint, I think it really started with our owner, Don Zietlow. He'd been in industry north of 60 years, had originated from grocery wholesale, so very similar to what these stories are. But he really took that model and pushed it over into the C-store market. What do we have in La Crosse? We have 2 bakeries, a dairy, as well as a commissary in which we're distributing every day to our 850 plus locations.
Thank you. So we talk about big consumer data all the time. What is it telling us? And I know as retailers, this is a hot topic at the table. How do your teams interact with the consumer data and the vertically integratedness of your structures? How do innovation, private label come into play over time? So maybe, Ron, you can give us some intel there.
Yeah, with the, it all starts with customer insights. We have marketing teams, which we call our on-brand teams. We take things from ideation to products on the shelf. There's different segments and different ways to get that product to the shelf. It could be promotional items, which are normally shorter-term projects, to product innovations, which could include capital equipment investments, things that will kind of be new and different to bring items to the shelf. So, you know, we have the marketing groups, we have the product managers, we have the engineers, and we all work cross-functionally together to get those products out.
Brad, because you're a little different, quick service.
Absolutely.
It's fast.
It is fast. Absolutely.
So how does this integrate in your model?
Yeah, I think very similar in a lot of different ways. You know, from a consumer data standpoint, obviously we're pulling a lot of point of sale. What is trending? What's on point within our stores? I think then we can pivot to our loyalty program. Within loyalty, we have north of 50% of all of our transactions happen on loyalty. So again, we can pull that data, see where we should respectively be trending. And I think that's what gives us respective insights. Now, I think there's a couple items in which, you know, feasibility, can we respectively do it from a manufacturing standpoint? What do we have for line time? But all of these play into that bigger conversation about what that looks like organizationally.
Thank you. And Richard, private label, that seems to be the swing, the trend that folks are going to because of inflation. When you look at this space, talk to timelines.
Yes. Go ahead.
Concept to commercialization. How does that work?
Yeah, you know, as these individuals had said, there's a lot of thought that goes into deciding what products we're going to be expanding on or moving into. There's a whole group. This isn't done behind, you know, just a closed door. There's a whole group of individuals and different departments that take part in identifying what it is that the customer's looking for, and then what the trends are out there in the market. And then, obviously, we take a look at what equipment do we already have in place that would support these new products that are being, you know, talked about. Because we are somewhat limited with footprint. So in order to move some of these new products into our operations, that means we have to give something up. And being able to identify just exactly what those products are, that would be the planning groups, that would be the, you know, the folks from what we call our RBUs, our retail business units. We function separate from them. We're actually the manufacturing leg of them, but they don't have to get the products from us. They do a make-buy analysis, which pushes us to be very competitive in being able to deliver quality products at a cost-effective rate, and then be reliable. That's one of the things that's critical for us is when we make a commitment, we have to stand behind that commitment to ensure that that product stays on the shelf. And in order to do that, it takes a whole team of individuals and departments to put those things in place to ensure that we are a reliable supplier to our stores.
Okay. And could you expand on which of these sectors you're seeing the most change? Is it the dairy? Is it the bread? Like, where is this innovation, the majority of it happening, Ron?
I would say, you know, bread is hot right now. You know, folks thought bread was commodity. Bread could be, it's just bread, right? But we saw with the inflation that the demand for our own brands or our private label are things that you know, just kind of really popped. You know, as Richard mentioned, you know, we put a lot of work into bringing our products to shelf. We test nationally, we test and cut against national brands, and folks have choices. So not only do we provide for ourselves, but we provide for others. There's a lot of collaboration involved to bring these products to shelf, and we make sure that we are right there with an offering, particularly with our new and distinctive items that people come just to H-E-B for.
And Brad, could you also kind of share in this space innovation within the C-stores? You go into the quick services now, I mean, it's all about grab and go, pizzas, sandwiches.
Absolutely.
Where is this going?
Absolutely. With our model, I think, again, you know, there are similarities, but yet there are differences. I think one of the items that we respectively contend with is change and variation. We'll do north of 12 million transactions a week, where as a consumer, you may be in their respective stores once a week, once every other week. We see our guests frequent daily or even throughout the day. So I think our guests' expectations of whether it be limited time offers or just change in respective offerings, I think that's probably one of our biggest pushes that we continue to see. We have LTO or limited time offering programs in really every category that we offer, from pizza to soup, donuts, breads, and I don't see that changing. I think we paused a little bit over COVID. It felt like a fairly long time, but at this point in time, from change and innovation, we're getting an immense amount of pressure from our retail group to get back on pace with those respective changes to ideation and just growth in offerings.
Because we have a lot of equipment suppliers in the room, with this innovation, do you see bottlenecks within the process of things? And the post-pandemic, we heard a lot of components being out of stock. Is this still an issue? Are we battling?
You are not going to get me to blame it on the equipment guys.
I just had to throw it out there.
At an equipment
Honest.
We've had some challenges with equipment. Certainly, lead time items we saw during the pandemic expand. Well, we've seen some of that claw back. So it's gotten a lot better. There are specific items, control panels, electronics, we still see some spot delays on. But we see not only the equipment bouncing back, but also some of the pricing challenges. So I would say I would look at the issues from a product to market answer being more of a supply chain issue than a equipment specific issue. But certainly within the last 6 to 8 months, it's gotten a lot better.
Perfect. Now pick on the suppliers, Richard.
Yeah.
Are there any internal issues that you're still battling against?
You know, yes, it is. You know, because without expending a lot of capital to get into the market with some of these new products, you try and take advantage of what you already have. And some of these suppliers, they've probably gotten calls from myself, if not maybe one of my team members. I've got a space that's this big, and it's a filler, and I'm trying to put a new product into the same package. How do I integrate your, you know, I guess your piece of equipment into my existing piece of equipment, and have them collaborate and communicate, you know, seamlessly, because I want to keep running the way I need it to run. So that in itself, you know, drives a lot of new opportunities for some of the suppliers out there, because we're trying to utilize a lot of the front end and back end equipment to get to market as quick as possible. And that helps tremendously because of that purpose. You know, the supply chain out there right now is very limited. And some of the items that, and components that we're looking to, you know, to purchase are a year, you know, 72 months out. And what happens then is now that pushes you into different windows where all the equipment is going to start showing up at one time, and you cannot have outage after outage after outage. So this piece of equipment may sit in our warehouse for 6 months before the window opens up for us to install it. So it has its challenges.
Okay. So on another subject, from an e-commerce, has that shifted your models as well from a vertical integration? We've talked about it in other association meetings as well. How impactful has this been? Do you still see this climbing trend of consumer behavior demanding through these channels? Maybe Brad?
Yeah, I guess I can speak from an e-commerce standpoint. We're being a C-store. You know, the benefit that we respectively have is your steps in the door. We don't see as much on that end. I think our mobile platform over the last 3 years has continued to grow, so that's probably as in-depth I would get there. I would like to make one quick comment, though, regarding supply chain before these two individuals jump into this question. And I think that is I would agree with what they respectively stated with controls and some other opportunities, but I think being here this week and looking at vendors and the relationships, I need to call out Jason Ward and AMF. We just concluded a dairy project, something not even in their respective wheelhouse, but when I look at all of the relationships here, there was support from that respective group associated to controls and gearboxes. So again, the value of what I've seen thus far this week and obviously going forward, I just want to recognize that end of it. So big thank you to you, Jason, and your organization. So
Great, Brad. Thank you.
Yeah, so from an e-commerce standpoint, I think HEB started selling bread and cakes online in 2012 to now kind of the e-stores. During the pandemic, you saw a lot of shopping online. You saw a lot of curbside. That has not subsided. That has grown into an amazing, explosive business from a growth perspective. We have e-stores that we set up to support the omni-channel retail portfolio. Some folks like to pick it up at their curb. Some people like to order and have it delivered at home. So we see just multiple streams of how people like to shop, and that continues to grow. We also want to make sure that the traditional shoppers have great experience so that they're not, bumping into carts for the folks that are picking items. So that's what's driven us to some of these satellite fulfillment centers, so that when you're walking through and having a shopping experience, you're not inhibited by a lot of carts. So trying to be all things to all customers, but understanding that at least even in my house, my millennials, I don't think they know what the inside of a grocery store looks like. They do almost 100% curbside. So we have to know kind of where the trend is going and support all of those challenges.
Yeah, for our business, it's been huge for us. It's changed the landscape of our stores and how we design them now. The whole front end of our stores are now set up for that particular business. Everything is selected by individuals that are assigned to do nothing but support that business. They will get everything bagged up, get it all carted, and get it moved to the front of the store. You have two options. You can come in and pick it up themselves, or there's a location outside that they just call in. I'm in slot 426. One of the associates there will grab all of those products and get it moved out to their vehicle, help them load it up, and get them on down the road. So it has been huge for us, and we've just tried to make it as seamless as possible for the individual who comes into the store, that he or she is not slowed down by all of the cart traffic that's coming through the store. So that was one of the things that we looked at, was just identifying certain associates that are going to go through and fulfill those orders and get them moved to the front of the stores to allow that continued flow through the stores ourselves. So it's been huge for us.
Mm-hmm. And I guess this is more of a general question, because oftentimes when I'm sitting with folks outside of the food industry and I talk private label, they look at me sometimes with blank stares. And they're like, can you define to me what a private label is? Do you still see that happening with your consumers?
Yeah, so for us, we like to look at it in a couple of ways. We have what we call own brands, OWN brands, and it really is kind of highlighting the things we do. We're in Texas, and our mission is to feed Texas. So we have some new and distinct items that only you can find in our stores. Things like the butter tortillas, some of the products in other parts of the stores, people come specifically for our items. We also have a value play in terms of everyday bread. We want to make sure that we're putting our label and our heart and soul into producing those products at a price point that anybody can come in and have bread. So we look at it that way. And then we have some high-end products that we put our labels on. And again, as I mentioned before, we go up against the national brands, have a great respect for them. The brands that people have shopped in our stores for their entire lives and sit side by side on the shelf with HEB brands. But we make sure that we have a place for everyone. And over time, and it's particularly during COVID, we saw a migration to some of the own brands, which was good for us. But again, we value the national brands and what they have meant to our customers over many years.
Yes, brand loyalty, you know, it goes back to developing quality products and being able to keep them on the shelves. During the whole pandemic, we did, like everybody else, run a shortage on some of our shelves with some brands that we typically carry, some large name brands, but that was everywhere. We were able to keep our supply chains and produce the products and keep those on the shelves that, you know, that the customers were moving a lot. Now, we did make some selections due to limitations on that supply chain, but, you know, nonetheless, we have loyal customers, and their loyalty is driven by the fact that we are there for them. We're there to produce those products to keep them into their, you know, into the sources that they're used to having, and that was our goal.
Brad, do you want to say?
Absolutely. I would agree with Ron and Richard associated to that. I do not believe there's any stigma associated to private label brands. We have an immense amount throughout all of the categories in our respective store, and especially associated to COVID, this time period in which we struggled on a replenishment rate with some of our national brands. Vertical integration in that respective model really supported in-stocks within our stores, and I think it helped continue to grow our respective volume. And again, from a national brand standpoint, every day of the week, I would love to put product out on the shelf that we believe is of as much quality at sometimes half the price. And again, our guests, our consumers today, I truly feel are looking for strong values, which continues to grow that respective model.
And the inflationary time.
Absolutely.
Do we see growth in all your companies?
Absolutely.
Private label?
Yes.
Traction? Good.
Absolutely. I think that from our standpoint, we've done a large push over the last 18 to 24 months associated to commodities, offering that respective value to our guests, and that's where we're seeing our biggest gains.
I'll pick on you again here on the speed to market situation, because it's fast, it's at a QSR. How does the R&D product development, where does that start? And again, we got a little bit of a preview of what timelines look like, but in a QSR setting, how does that look like?
Speed to market, every day continues to be interesting. So our R&D group is actually headed up by one of our third generation owners, so a lot of investment into that from a family standpoint. Again, I think it's insight, and that is whether it's just reading on market data. We do a lot of traveling throughout the respective country, what's hot, what should be that next thing we get into. Obviously, our own internal sales data drives some of that when we cross that respective threshold as to, hey, look at the sales here, we should start looking at these respective lines. I know I've had some really good conversation already this week on some opportunity there. But once we have our insight box checked, then I think it really comes back to feasibility. And feasibility to me is a two-prong. One, can we physically do it? Just because somebody in a corner office has an idea that says, hey, we should respectively produce this. We have a bakery. That gets thrown out a lot. It's like, I hear you, but we do not have that respective equipment. And then I think line capacity. That's another really big aspect of the conversation. I historically have come from the transportation business, so when you look at utilization, one of the big projects we're working on now, about 2 years ago, we put in a sous vide line. It is our most underutilized line. So from an R&D standpoint, how can we push this group to get utilization up on this respective line? Duration can be, we've rolled out new cake donut LTO flavors in just over 2 months. We're still working on a couple soup lines. That's been in excess of 2 years. So I think it's really specific to what type of product we're respectively producing. But that, I mean, I could bore you with our 101 PLM process, but I will not do that to you after lunch today. So that kind of is what our model looks like from a distilled nature. And then again, just try and get it out to market as quick as possible. And then we hear from our retail location or retail stores, their follow-up is, and what's next? So
Exactly.
it
Keeping
never
things
ends.
fresh.
Rinse and repeat.
And on the packaging side, how much of a voice at the table do the manufacturers within the vertical integration have?
Our relationship with packaging is very good and very integrated. I tell you, and St. John's is here, they've done a great job growing with us, not only on the everyday packaging side, but the packaging innovation side and the packaging quality side as we look to improve our shelf life. So that's been good. They've been part of our extension of our R&D teams and how we bring products to market. So I would say from a packaging standpoint, we have great partnerships, and we look to continue those partnerships.
And Richard, clean label, health and wellness, where does that fit into the category of product development in your organization?
Yeah, a lot of that is done internally through our organization. There's teams that go out there and look at just exactly what it is that we should be focusing on. And so they've done a lot of homework before they engage us. And once they engage us, then we'll go out there and see just exactly what it is that we're going to be taking care of, or what we can utilize to support their effort, to continue and expand the private label part of our business. But a lot of that happens way ahead of us. Just try to put things in place. Just getting a label approved takes a tremendous amount of effort. So all of that has to happen way in the front end before it gets to us to go ahead and start working on it. Mm-hmm. Very challenging.
Brad, you mentioned AMF here earlier.
Absolutely.
So from a manufacturer, where are the points of contacts? Where does that start with one?
Absolutely. I think commentary there, yes, big kudos there and thank you to that. But from a relationship standpoint, we are a C-store operator that is trying to do an immense amount of things. We can't be subject matter experts in every respective item we do. So a lot of times we will be pulling in those respective vendors to say, hey, this is what we want. We have the respective capital to get to where we need to be, but we also need that additional support. Our projects group consists of 4 individuals. So when you look at the capital spend that we've done over the last, let's just say 5 years, it's pretty remarkable as to what has been accomplished. But that's not on behalf of Quick Trip. That's on behalf of the individuals in this room that have continued to help support us get to where we want to be and be successful. And I think, from that standpoint, we are proud of what we've been able to accomplish. But again, it's not from an individual effort at our organization. It's truly a big thanks to those individuals and organizations that we have been able to partner with over the years.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on, talking with the suppliers. I've been a supplier, and it's quite a journey. But I think that 3 things that jump off the page for me in engaging with our business. Really need an air game, those account managers that come in and have the relationships of sales, come in and share your products with us. You need a ground game, that's with the engineers, the plants, R&D, that kind of help set up, fit for use and how can we leverage our goods and services to help solve problems in the business. And then field support. And a lot of times, even though the name is field support, it's really at the executive level. We always talk about, there's a certain level of capital spend, there's a certain level of funds involved and available for capital, and making sure that you have that support at the top level to help engage those other 2 levels and maximize support.
I'd like to talk a little bit about that because same thing, we are limited with staff where I'm at. I've got 5 project managers that report up to me, and we're responsible for 7 large manufacturing complexes. Each one of them has a dairy, mostly dairies. We have cultured products, we have bottled water, we have carbonated drinks, we have deli salads, we have deli meats. All of those are supported by these 5 individuals. So we have to rely heavily upon the suppliers to help us get through those design phases to get to the end goal, which is to produce a product that's competitive and in quality and nature to nobody but the best supplier that's out there. We don't produce products to be second best. We want to compete with the top brands out there in the industry. And due to limited resources, we reach out to a lot of suppliers. We ask for help, and we ask for a lot of different things. The expectations is we're going to ask for a lot. You're going to tell us, hey, we can do 90% of it with this piece of equipment, but that other 10%, you may want to do something else. And that's really what it is we rely upon you guys telling us the right information, getting us, the information that we need to make decisions. If we need to do something a little bit differently, really, we're expecting that input from you guys, and that is key to our success. I mean, without you guys, we wouldn't be up here talking about the things that we're doing.
Brad, I'm going to come back to you on a PLM question. You mentioned you didn't want to bore everyone, but what determines the breaking point of a product in that cycle, whether it's going to be successful or not?
From a determination associated to whether it will hit market or not, I would say probably the biggest contention that we run into, I could go in pretty deep on this one, but I think the flexibility associated to what will our guest want. We have a panel associated to cutting. That probably is where we see the most, I guess, end or stopgap to new products rolling out. Yeah, that's probably what I would state.
Okay. Ron, you're shaking your head.
I'm agreeing.
You agree? Okay.
Yeah, I want to get back to the equipment side. We're in the company of equipment manufacturers, and I think it's very important. If I call names, I'll probably be as funny as that comedian earlier, because I'll leave somebody out and look really clumsy up here. But just the partnership is very important. There's been a lot of mergers and acquisitions. There's been a lot of changes in seats and roles. Just to stay relevant in what you're doing in your business and how we solve problems in our business is really important. This week has been extremely helpful just in kind of breaking down some of those barriers and understanding who's doing what. So that they are a tremendous part of our partnership and our growth. So you have no idea, how helpful and how informative this week has been, and it's really just getting started. So as a part of the relationship side, I know there's a lot of projects going on, but just to understand your business, understanding the changes in business, understanding the roles that you play and help us with innovation. It's been mentioned up here that there's a lot of projects and work with few resources, so you help us get close to the pin the fastest. So definitely want to give some time to appreciate you guys for that and challenging us to get better.
That's it. I can't say enough about the suppliers that we work with and are constantly reaching out to get information to help us move our projects along and kind of help get us to the end goal, which is be able to provide those products to our customers. That is key to us, and helping us kind of modify some of the existing equipment that's out there, because I believe that's probably going to be one of the biggest factors coming up in the next couple of years due to the supply chain. Being able to transition from one type of package to another type of package. I see that in the near future that is going to be the direction that a lot of companies are going to be going. But couldn't do it without you guys.
Thank you. Just a general, maybe, conversation about the political economic landscape. Is the boardroom conversations of your organizations changing? There is a lot going on out there right now, and there's a lot of discussions that go one way or the other. The biggest directive that we have from our boardroom is to be more cost effective. We see the economic landscape tightening up. And in order to us to stay, in that market and be competitive and deliver those products to our customers, that is a key thing at a reasonable cost and price. That is our end goal. That's all that we get tasked with, is give us the best product that we can at a competitive price and quality, and keep our customers in our stores.
That is the challenge that we are, we're dealt with every day.
Nervous about inflation. We're a part of the conversation. We're excited about the growth, but we wonder how long and how hard it's going to go. I think their statements about the capital expense projects is spot on. And so my answer is pretty much the same.
And I would agree with what they're stating. I think the last 3 years have been an absolute roller coaster ride. I think it was just everybody trying to hang on to see what was going to transpire. But we've seen a reduction, and then all of a sudden we see this tidal wave in respective sales, employment opportunities, trying to staff. That seems to have right-sized on our end now. Now I think inflation continues to be probably top of mind within our organization. So what have we done? Again, strong commodity push. How do we continue to push values out to our respective guests? And our owner would tell you each and every day, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I think it's just how do we continue to grow, and that's through greenfield builds, as well as growing that market basket of every transaction every day. And I don't see that going away anytime in the near future.
Mm-hmm. And post-pandemically, have we also had more focus on working capital within your organizations? Has that been sort of a trend this year?
I would state on our end, I think it's been somewhat of a two-prong approach. It's what do we have from allocation associated to increase in interest rates, but on the other end of it, we're not soon to forget some of the supply chain constraints and what we could not get. So I think from that end of it for our business, it's what else can we respectively do within our four walls to ensure that we'll best take care of our retail locations.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Sustainability. We had a fantastic Workforce Wednesday session yesterday around sustainability and the baking industry. We had a non-baker kind of speak to us about what all that means. How much is that in your decision-making being incorporated for long-term, built to last?
Sustainability is huge. You want to go? Go ahead.
No, absolutely. Sustainability is a large part of our business. We actually have a group, a department that works with us on every one of the projects that we get engaged in. We look at every aspect of that project, where material is coming from, where the waste is coming from, the waste stream, the products, the chemicals, water usage. Everything is looked at, and we go through it and actually we'll tweak our processes in order to meet a certain goal. Not that we're going to take a shortcut, but we are going to scrutinize everything along the path of the development of the project that makes sure that we have looked at every aspect of that project by the time we get to the implementation point. And then we will check ourselves once the project is completed just to see just exactly where we fell. And so that's key for us. That is a huge part of our business.
Is that becoming a measure, an ROI measure in your capital?
It is for certain things. Obviously the reduction of water is key for us. Reclaim water. We've got a lot of roof space. We have a lot of refrigeration. So we try and reclaim a lot of our condensate waters coming off of our air handlers. Anything coming off the roof, we'll put it into a storage unit. We will treat that, and then we use it on our condensers. We'll evaporate 1 million gallons a day of water in our refrigeration systems. So we like to go ahead and capture that wherever we can and utilize it back into our operations. So it is huge for us.
Yeah, just a couple of different points. It's become, sustainability and green energy has become a critical strategic pillar in HEB. We have about 7 or 8 projects that we're putting solar panels on not only on our manufacturing facilities, but in our stores. We have projects with food banks. We have projects in the transportation space with clean energy. On new buildings, LEED certifications and things of that nature. So I think about in every aspect, if we can reduce products to landfill, recycling programs, start at the store, you can bring your bags back to the store, and it's even more intense as you get into manufacturing and distribution centers.
I would reiterate exactly what they've stated to this point. Even from energy management standpoint across the board, Ron referenced transportation. Back in 2011, we started a strong initiative associated to compressed natural gas as well as liquid natural gas on our transportation system. Again, we'll run north of 30 million miles this year, and certainly every aspect of that helps. But within food manufacturing, it has continued to ratchet up from a conversation within the boardroom, and I don't see it going away.
No. That's kind of the words of what was left yesterday. It was,
Absolutely.
this is here to stay. A lot of accolades. Thank you to you all here from what you shared with suppliers and equipment manufacturers and others. What are words of wisdom you want to leave the room with for them to have?
Well, you know, one of the things for us, you guys keep doing what you're doing. You guys are bringing some fantastic products to us. You're bringing some great technology into our facilities. You know, the biggest challenge that we see is being able to support that technology. I think what the RealWear presentation that occurred in front of us is going to be key for our operations. We have limited, you know, technicians with the, you know, with the knowledge of how to maintain this new technology, but just not to put a plug in for the RealWear, but if that came to me as an option for a piece of equipment and it was already based and housed inside a panel, I would buy it. I would take that option, put it in there, because it's going to help myself, it's going to help the maintenance department, it's going to help operations, sanitation, everybody in you know, convincing them to bring that new technology in. That is a challenge for myself. It might be for you guys. How we'd love to buy it. How are we going to support it? That's always the question that comes to me.
The thing I would share is this is my second Beamer, and I now have a robot. I'm happy about my robot.
Does it have a name?
Not that I can say on stage. But, you know, just to embrace the technology, you know, it was in the presentation before us. This industry has a lot of upside, a lot of opportunities. I would also not like to leave out the ingredients providers here. You know, again, the science of baking, the innovations in that space, partnerships we've shared, and you've helped us get better as our resources in R&D are not massive, so we share a lot of thought leadership in the ingredient space, so I want to thank you guys as well. But just the words of wisdoms, you know, as operators, we're problem solvers and obstacle removers, and to the extent that you can help us help you do that for our business and our customers, that's the winning formula right there.
My end of it, prior to getting into food manufacturing, I spent 20 years in transportation warehousing, and I would say the last 5 years being in food manufacturing, I have not met a better respective group, a more supportive group. I think biggest item I would continue to offer is just educating respective organizations on what else you can do for them and not assume that they know every aspect of what you do. Again, just even over the course of this week, to pursue in the years to come. So truly appreciate the welcome arms coming down to this event.
Thank you all. I'll turn it over to the audience for their engagement with the panel.
Yeah, so I think over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of SKU rationalization, SKU reduction in some major national brands, maybe as well as your own private labels. But when you think about new CapEx, do you think you are going to be focusing more on your innovation side and flexibility of new equipment, or do you really put a bigger focus on the throughput capacity of that equipment?
You know, from my perspective, what we're seeing out there is the equipment, we're going to ask it to go faster. That goes back to the ingredient side, and I guess I should have touched a little bit on that itself. That's going to require some of these ingredients to activate a little bit faster. It's going to have to develop faster. nothing happens in a silo. When you try and do one thing, you have negative reactions on the other. So everything kind of has to move along with, with what it is your end goal is. And, technology, equipment, smaller footprints and diversity with equipment. That's what I see out there right now that I'm going to be looking for our operations.
Yeah, I would just say that the SKU rationalization to me means that we need to increase our capital investment. It's a statement to we can't get it all fast enough. We can't get it there. So we want to make sure that we can rationalize those SKUs and provide the ultimate service until we can build and bring that capacity.
And I would state respective to that SKU rationalization, I don't think we ever went deep enough. I mean, we're a gas station that produces in excess of 30 different pizza SKUs. Like, come on, we need to get better about that. But I think from a future capital standpoint, ours is really more throughput. How can we continue to keep pace? We're adding an additional 50 plus stores each and every year. And again, how can we support that continued growth out at market?
Right back here. Sustainability plays an important part in many parts of our businesses. I'm just kind of curious to know from each of you what sustainability means for your company, specifically to packaging.
What?
Packaging sustainability.
Ron, you want to go?
Throw me under the bus. So I mentioned that it is from a company and corporate standpoint, one of our strategic pillar, and it was added in the last 18 months. So we've gone to great lengths to kind of understand the sustainability profiles in all aspects of our business, packaging inclusive. So we have projects set aside to understand what we can do with packaging technologies and to improve on our packaging that we currently have today.
I would state that's a great question. 18 months ago, I think as an organization, we would have taken anything we can get in-house just from a supply chain standpoint. Yep. Now that those, corrections are out there and we're better positioned, I think for us, it's with our procurement group, how can we better buy from a sustainability standpoint? What does that look like 12 months from now? What does that look like 5+ years from now? And where is the respective technology going? Being based out of Wisconsin, I will be very candid with you. I think we have a little different feel than if we were on one of the respective coasts. But I also don't believe that makes us able to just stick our head in the sand and not pursue what sustainability means. Again, we have 12+ million guests coming into our stores, and what it may mean to one segment of our customer base is strongly different than another. So I promise you, it's one of those topics that we hear daily from consumer feedback coming in is, hey, I notice you utilize this. When are you going to transition to these respective options? So more to come, but that's where we're positioned at this point in time.
Yeah.
As you guys continue to build vertically, it seems like there's a lot that your management team has to keep top of mind and become experts in. Do you have any tips or learnings to build a high-functioning management team?
I think my quick statement to you as we're running out of time, it's getting our CEO out on the floor and actually having him understand what we're doing each and every day in all of our respective facilities, and just trying to educate to highlight what value we add to the organization and how we accomplish what we do. To me, as always, it starts at the top. And if we can get engagement on that end, we will continue to have an absolutely great future in food manufacturing.
Yeah, like any CEO, he doesn't want it to cost what it costs. Explaining that, that's key for us. And, that's a big part of our business and our sell to the operations, to the senior vice president and the vice presidents is, if this is a business that we want to get into, this is what it's going to cost. And being able to communicate that clearly to them and why it costs what it costs. That is key in itself. Because in many cases, you're going to get challenged along the way. You know, I know you're asking for this. Can you do it for less? Do it right. That's all I can say. You have to do it right. And by doing that, you'll be successful at it.
Yeah, I would say education and communication. We're a privately held company, so I think we have a line of sight to the top of what's needed. But this is a company in a row that I've been in that has hired professional communications people to communicate the value of supply chain. And a lot of that communication is internal. We sweat the assets in this business tremendously. And so I think we need to show the value proposition of what supply chain values offer the organization, being vertically integrated, how that drives value for the business and the customer, and how it all comes together. So education and communication.
So much. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Rademacher for sponsoring this session. I think we all learned a lot. Let's give them a round of applause.